Our style is short form.
Short form and sketch.
Short form and
awesome.
sketch. And awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Awesomeness.
I don't know. Our sketches they're pretty like, we don't really have a set style, but some video, some stage,
Some music.
some political, some
Political satire.
And I'd seen both groups, and I said to myself, Mama's Pot Roast is like Subway. They have, a nice, light, vegetable-y taste. And then KARL is like Quiznos. It's much darker and meatier, I think. Or if you want a music analogy instead of food, Mama's Pot Roast is the Beatles and KARL is the Rolling Stones.
Right. Something that short form has in particular is the art of really calling a game, and
audience interaction,
things like that. A long form group will essentially take one suggestion at the beginning and go from there, and it's a very cool thing to watch. But short form is constantly checking in and interacting with the audience, and it just adds a different element, different feel for the show, really. To have the same quality of performance of short form improv that you do long form improv, it's more difficult, I would say, because you have sort of this game the rules of this game that you're playing, like you have to pick up a line off the floor and say it in the scene. To keep the integrity of the scene is much more of a challenge than it might be in long form improv. And that's no knock on long form improv groups, because short form has plenty of, again, fallbacks, little gimmicks that it can do to keep the audience going, but to have the same integrity of performance that long form groups generally pride themselves on, it's more of a challenge in short form. And I think there's such a thing as like theorizing and English majoring improv to death. Most of the time it's just we're having fun on stage. Like, I mean, that's what we're about, really. And I'm a huge believer of the fact that if you're having fun on stage, then the audience is having fun.
Short form is what you see on Who's Lines in Many Ways. We play a bunch of different games and scenes in each game. They're usually disconnected from the scenes in the other games. But in long form, it's usually it's more like a complete piece. It's like kind of like a short play where all the scenes, like the individual scenes, may not be connected in very obvious ways, but usually by the end of the piece, there's a connection between them all. And we don't play games like on Designs and Name. We just start with a word and see where we're going.
There's also usually a pattern embedded in short form scenes, so they get something that, like a pattern that's consistent throughout the scene, and that's like the game. But in long form, you have to think of it on your own.
One of the tenets of long form is that what makes interesting improv and interesting theater in general is the relationships between the characters on stage. So it's not necessarily about whatever they're talking about, it's about how these two people feel about each other. So one of the things that's one of the things we try and emphasize in our improv is to always kind of have that happening, hopefully it's funny and, probably a little bit wacky, but there's also hopefully some compelling feelings going on in the scene. That sounds a little weird. But, so if the scene is sort of dead-ending, it's probably because the two people on stage there's no reason to care about them. Like, why would we care about this scene? If we're doing a compelling scene, at least it's compelling. If it's not funny, that's okay. But at least you're not going to want to shoot yourself in the head for watching it. So if the scene's not going well, typically we turn to each other and try and figure out what's going on between the two characters, as opposed to try and make up some crazy, wacky joke. As a group the group is more important than the individual. So it's not about one person going out and looking funny in a show. It's sort of about everybody having a good show collectively. And so in that respect, we're all supporting each other. So we're all sort of in it together. And if one of us fails, we all sort of fail. And if we have a success, it's due to all of us, not just a single person. So that kind of support is a big part of it.
I was talking to somebody the other day about how improv, in that way, if you think about it like that, improv must be some sort of a con if you're getting people to pay for it. Because it's not funny later. It's only funny right then, so it's sort of just this, you're convincing the audience that what you're doing on stage is perfect and brilliant, when really it's just some people sort of goofing around having a good time.